In the annals of American crime, few names evoke as much terror as the Toolbox killers. Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris, two seemingly ordinary men, would become synonymous with the most chilling acts of violence. Their moniker, the Toolbox Killers, was born from their gruesome use of everyday tools to torture and murder. Captured and sentenced, Bittaker awaited execution on death row, while Norris served a life sentence. Both met their end within prison walls. Join us as we delve into the dark world of the Toolbox Killers. Bittaker and Norris, like many serial killers, had troubled beginnings. Lawrence Sigmund Bittaker, born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in September 1940, was the unwanted offspring of a couple who had opted against parenthood. Discarded by his biological mother, he found himself in an orphanage only to be adopted as an infant. His adoptive father's career in the aviation industry prompted the family to relocate frequently throughout Bittaker's childhood. His first brush with the law was at the tender age of 12, arrested for shoplifting. The subsequent 4 years saw more arrests for similar offenses, including petty theft, drawing the attention of juvenile authorities. Bittaker later rationalized these theft-related offenses as attempts to fill the void of love he felt was missing from his life. Despite an impressive IQ of 138, Bittaker found school uninspiring and dropped out in 1957. By then, he was living in California with his adoptive parents. Within a year, he was arrested for car theft, a hit and run, and evading arrest. His punishment? A stint in the California Youth Authority until he turned 18. Upon release, he found his adoptive parents had disowned him and relocated. He never saw them again. On the other hand, Roy Lewis Norris was born in Greeley, Colorado in February 1948. An illegitimate child, his parents wed to avoid the societal stigma of the time. His childhood was a mix of living with his parents and being shuffled between foster homes throughout Colorado. His recollections from this period were marred by accusations of wrongdoing, neglect, and even sexual abuse. His father worked in a scrapyard while his mother, a drug-addicted housewife, was barely functional. Norris's unstable family life and his experiences in foster care were far from the nurturing environment children typically need. In summary, both Bittaker and Norris had childhoods marked by neglect, instability, and early brushes with the law. These early experiences laid the groundwork for their future criminal behavior. Their paths were set on a collision course that would result in a terrifying partnership. In the grim confines of a California state prison, a deadly alliance was formed. In the bleak landscape of incarceration, Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris first crossed paths. Two individuals, both scarred by troubled pasts, found a dark camaraderie in each other. Drawn together by their shared history of criminality and a twisted fascination with violence, they formed a bond that would prove to be sinisterly significant. Their conversations in the prison yard were chillingly casual, discussing shared fantasies of violent crimes with an unsettling nonchalance. They dreamt of power, control, and inflicting pain, their imaginations painting a disturbing portrait of the atrocities they wished to commit. They found solace in their shared darkness, their friendship providing a platform to amplify their sinister desires. As their sentences came to an end, they made a pact. They vowed to meet again in the outside world, to give life to their monstrous visions. Upon their release, they would turn their darkest fantasies into a horrifying reality. Once free, Bittaker and Norris embarked on a 5-month spree of unimaginable violence. From June to October of 1979, Southern California was gripped by a chilling wave of disappearances. 5 teenage girls vanished, their fates unknown, their families left in agonizing suspense. The first to disappear was Lucinda Lynn Schaefer. 16 years old and full of life, she vanished on June 24th. Next was Andrea Joy Hall, only 18, last seen on July 8th. The third victim was Jacqueline Doris Gilliam, aged 15, who disappeared on September 3rd along with her friend, 16-year-old Jacqueline Leah Lamp. The final victim, Shirley Lynette Ledford, was just 16 when she vanished on Halloween night, a chilling end to a season of terror. Each disappearance was marked by a chilling similarity. The girls were all young, vibrant, and full of potential, their lives snuffed out prematurely. Each girl was not just kidnapped, but subjected to unspeakable horrors. The moniker Toolbox Killers was not just a media sensationalism, it was a grim reflection of the horrific toolbox Bittaker and Norris utilized in their depraved acts. Tools of everyday use like pliers, ice picks, and sledgehammers took on a sinister new meaning in their hands. These tools, typically found in any household toolbox, were used not for repair or construction, but for destruction of the most brutal kind. As we delve into these heinous acts, it's important to remember that we do so not to glorify the killers or their methods, but to understand the depths of their depravity and to remember the victims. Each girl was more than just a victim. They were daughters, friends, students. They had dreams and aspirations, lives that should have been lived, and they were brutally taken from this world by two men who showed no mercy, no humanity. The reign of Bittaker and Norris was not marked by any grand schemes or elaborate plots. It was a reign of terror, plain and simple. It was a reign marked by violence, fear, and the utter disregard for human life. From the safety of the present, it's easy to look back and ask why. Why did they do it? What drove them to such depths of evil? But the truth is, there are no easy answers. There is no single reason that can explain their actions, no simple explanation that can make sense of their crimes. They were driven by a dark, twisted desire, a hunger for power and control that led them to commit the unimaginable. Their reign of terror would finally come to an end, but not before they had claimed 5 innocent lives. The legacy of the Toolbox Killers is not one of fear, but of remembrance. We remember the victims, the lives they could have lived, the dreams they could have achieved. And we remember the horror, not to give power to the killers, but to ensure that such atrocities are never forgotten and never repeated. The net finally closed on Bittaker and Norris in late 1979. The end of their reign of terror began with a confession. Norris, unable to keep the gruesome details of their crimes to himself, shared the horrific details with a friend. This friend, shocked by the depravity, reported Norris to the police, leading to both of their arrests. Norris was the first to break under police interrogation, spilling the details of their horrific crimes. He provided information on the victims, the tools they used, and even the locations of the murders. This confession led to a plea bargain. In exchange for his full cooperation and testimony against Bittaker, Norris would receive a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Bittaker, on the other hand, maintained his innocence, forcing a trial. Norris took the stand, recounting their crimes in chilling detail. He described their methods of abduction, the gruesome tortures they inflicted using tools from a common toolbox, and ultimately, the murders. The courtroom listened in horrified silence as Norris laid bare the monstrous acts they had committed. The trial was a media circus, with the public clamoring for details about the Toolbox Killers. It took the jury just 3 days to find Bittaker guilty of 5 counts of first-degree murder. On March 24, 1981, he was sentenced to death. However, Bittaker would never see the execution chamber. He died of natural causes while on death row at San Quentin State Prison in December 2019. Norris, meanwhile, served his sentence at the California Medical Facility, where he also died of natural causes in February 2020, having never been granted parole. Justice was served, but the memory of their monstrous crimes continues to haunt us. The tale of the Toolbox Killers serves as a grim reminder of the depths of human depravity and the importance of vigilance in our communities to protect the most vulnerable among us. Bittaker and Norris have left a chilling legacy in the annals of American crime. Their gruesome acts of violence sent shockwaves through society, forever embedding their names into the grim fabric of American history. Their moniker, the Toolbox Killers, has become an emblem of the darkest depths of human depravity, a stark symbol of the horrors that can be inflicted by the human hand. The crimes they committed have had a profound impact on the true crime genre, their story a grim tale that has been recounted in countless books, documentaries, and television shows. Their legacy, however, is not one to be celebrated, but rather serves as a sobering testament to the extremes of human cruelty. In the end, both Bittaker and Norris met their demise not through the justice system's ultimate punishment, but by the hands of natural causes. Bittaker, sentenced to death, passed away while on death row in 2019, and Norris, sentenced to life imprisonment, died in 2020. Even in their deaths, The spectre of their heinous acts lingers on, their story a chilling reminder of the monsters that can hide in plain sight. Their legacy is one of caution and vigilance, a call to never underestimate the darkness that can lurk in the human soul. Their story serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the human soul.